Well, greetings, people of the internet. Unky Joe here, Unky Joe's Playhouse. Wow, thank you so much for the views and the likes and the comments on the last two Proxmox lab videos. They've been overwhelming, to say the least. So thank you for that. So today, along those same lines, we're going to continue on with our Windows Lab slash Proxmox Lab series of videos. We're just building on our Proxmox Lab. Last time we talked about setting up domain controllers and DNS and how I do DHCP and all that kind of thing. And today it's all about creating Windows 10 and Windows 11 virtual machines for the lab environment. Now, please keep in mind, this is not a soup to nuts tutorial. I do expect you to do a little bit of work on your own, but I'm just going to basically show you how I create Windows 10 and Windows 11 virtual machines, how I clone them, how I store them, how I modify them, how I update them, and the ins and outs of how I configure them to go on to my, and then be added onto the Active Directory network. So, we got a lot to do today, and a short time to get there. Is that Jerry Reed? Yeah. Got a long way to go and a short time to get there. So we're going to make old Bandit run, I guess, or something like that anyway. And fair warning, these videos, these lab series of videos are a bit longer, so I encourage you to listen along and have a good time, but they are going to take a while to get through them. We're going to create our virtual machines now, our Windows 10 and Windows 11 virtual machines, and then I'm going to show you something that sometimes happens on Windows Server 2019 and sometimes it doesn't. It's, Windows is a fickle beast. But I'm going to share with you what that could mean and what it is and what it could mean to you and how to mitigate it. So we'll go from there. So in this lab, everything is on the 20 subnet, and I just call it VLAN 20. It gets its DHCP from the pfSense firewall, and I just have pfSense run all my DHCP, both on my production and my lab networks and my wireless and my guest, all that stuff. So on this network, I've already created some virtual machines and turned them into templates. So what I do is I load Windows 10, do all the updates, then I sysprep it, and then I convert that sysprepped image into a template under Proxmox, save a copy of it onto my network, and then I have it to create virtual machines from. Do the same thing with the Windows 11. So what I'm going to show you today is how I restore those, or how I recreate a Windows virtual machine from there. So over here I have a virtual machine, a template. You can see the difference between a template and a VM. A template has got a little picture of a computer next to a monitor, whereas a virtual machine has a picture of basically a monitor, I guess. Okay. So anyway, if I right click on this, I can clone the image. So I'm going to go ahead and choose clone, and I'm going to give it a name. And this is going to be called, what are we going to call this? 10p dash, let's just do something original and go lab 1 dot labnet 20.local. Yeah, but Joe, you don't need to put that whole long name in there. Yeah, I know. I don't have to put the labnet 20.local, but it's a visual indicator for me as to what network it belongs to. Now, I've also changed this from a linked clone, which is fine, to a full clone. And then I'm going to put the storage on, let's do this drive here, NVMe 2. Yeah, I don't want a linked clone running. I want this virtual machine to have its own virtual hard drive, virtual everything. I just want it to be a standalone VM. So that's why I do a full clone. And if you have a question as to how that works, just click on help. All right. A full clone needs to read and copy all VM image data. This is usually much slower than creating a linked clone. The process of creating the clone is slower, not the machine is slower. That could be misinterpreted. So we'll come back here, and I'm just going to click on clone, and then we're going to let that run. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the Windows 11 You see I've labeled it 11 Pro SysPrep 0424. So I'm going to right click. I'm going to clone that. I'm going to do 11 Pro dash lab 1.labnet 20.local. Again, we're going to do a full clone, and we're going to put the storage this time on NVMe 3. So I just rotate my storage drives. That way it kind of fills them evenly. I'm going to go ahead and click on clone. So now I have 2 clone jobs going on, and we'll let them run. So now if you look over there at the name of the machines, it's now cloned the virtual machines. And anytime you wonder what's going on with Proxmox, just look down here on this bottom screen here, and it'll show you, it'll tell you what it's doing. And when it completes a task, it'll also tell you that. So just, I will tell you to have a little patience. Don't get impatient like Unky Joe does sometimes and clicks something. Just give it, walk away for 5 minutes. I'm serious. Set a timer through, you know, the speaker of choice in your home. Set a 5-minute timer, get up and walk away. Go get some fresh air, go out and, you know, I don't know, water the plants, whatever. Come back and all will be well. But you can see why I label things the way I do now. You see how this sets these virtual machines apart from all the others, because they have this additional gem of information. Now, as I fill this up with LabNet machines, say I have a LabNet 30 or a LabNet 40 machine, well, it could get a little confusing to the eye. So we can further differentiate these by going up and, you know, adding a tag, for example, LabNet 20. And I'm going to do that with both of these. So just go up here to the tag, add a tag. I've already created a tag called LabNet 20. Boom. So you can do that with LabNet 30, make it a color of blue or cyan or pink, whatever the hell you want, right? But there you go. That's how you label them. And it's, you know, it's a feature you really don't think about till you use it. And then you're like, oh yeah, well, that's brilliant. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and start this virtual machine now, and it's going to go through its initial setup. So anytime you sysprep an image, you put it basically back to the out-of-box condition. We used to use it a lot when I worked in PC manufacturing. I used to manufacture PCs. I used to build them. I built them for a major university in San Antonio back in the 90s. That was all I did. And having built a lot of machines, you had to image these machines. And so you would create a master image, you would image the machines, and then once you got all the drivers and software loaded you wanted, you would sysprep the image and deliver it to the customer or give it to the customer. They would take it home, and boom, the Windows startup screen would come up and walk them through getting their machine set up for their personal use. So it's an old way of doing things, but it's a good way. And it's, you know, they've improved upon it over the years. They had some minor problems when we went from Windows to Windows 10. Windows 10 didn't like to sysprep in the early days, and was always giving me trouble. But now it's gotten to the point where, you know, it works very well. Anyway, so we're waiting on this machine to boot, and the first boot could be a little infuriating or maddening. You know, while we're doing this, let's go ahead and go over here and we'll start the Windows 11 machine as well. So that can be doing what it needs to do in the background. Let's come back to Windows 10. There we go. So we'll get here eventually. I got me a fresh cup of coffee. And as soon as I cut the video, here we go. It says, is this right? So y'all have been through this a million times, right? You've been through this Windows 10 setup. You don't need to see me doing all this. So I'm going to go ahead and go through this and get the machine up to the desktop, and I'll bring you back. All right, so the virtual machine is now up and running. I went through all the setup stuff, and here on Task Manager, let's see, it's a quad core. I'm giving it 4 gig of RAM, you know, for Windows 10, just to get it started up. And it's doing a lot. It's a busy little bee doing a OneDrive setup and all that. And, you know, in this lab series, we're going to see how to mitigate stuff like this OneDrive, and how to actually even remove it from our workstation PCs. I mean, why have the software, you know, This is one of the things Linux people talk about all the time is why have all this software running in the background just to run, a desktop OS. You really don't need it all. It's all crap. So through the use of group policies, we'll be able to remove that. Anyway, so let's go run a Windows update real quick and just see where we are with updates. I just sysprepped this image a week or two ago, and of course it's Windows 10, so there are probably updates. 5 minutes after I sysprepped it, there were probably updates. So we'll see here in a second. Drum roll. Yeah, look at that. Just a shit ton of updates. So we'll let that run. All right, so now we're on the Windows 11 lab machine, and I'm going to go through all the little paces here. So we'll go ahead. One thing I like about Windows 11 setup is I get the opportunity to name the machine right here. And that's not something I get to do with Windows 10. You have to come back and do it later. Now, I'm not going to put the whole labnet20.local in there because it doesn't know it exists yet. You know what I'm saying? When we go to join it to the domain, that will be appended to it automatically on the end. So hopefully this won't take long. I went through the majority of the Windows 11, questionnaire. Oh, it's going to reboot now. That's okay. We got nothing but time. Let's see. Let's go back to our Windows 10, and you can see it's doing update things. Yeah, that's a big update right there. That 892.60, 892. It's a pretty hefty update. Can't believe that wasn't part of my sysprepped image, but okay. So now we're going through the Windows setup. So we're going to set it up for work or school and this is why we have to use Pro, because you need it to sign on to a domain controller. So I'm going to click sign in options and I'm going to tell it domain join instead. Now, I've already got an Adama account created here when I sysprepped it. That's the account I use. So I have to use a different name here. That's okay. I've got the noise cancellation on this microphone. But I'm telling you, by the end of the day, with the noise of this server behind me all day, yeah. Because I just hate the noise. And it's not that it's the frequency. It's not the level, the decibels that I could, I got an aquarium pump running back here all the time. Fortunately, I got noise cancellation on the microphone, so y'all don't have to hear it. But I do. And something about this frequency this Lenovo runs at just really irritates me. It angers me, actually. I guess in my primitive 8 brain. All right, so here we are a few moments later, and Windows 11 is now up and running. I'm going to run Task Manager. I just like to run it and see where we are with things. And I'm going to sort it by load. And let's see, what is this? This is a 4-core. Yeah, 4-core, only 4 gig. Normally I give my Windows 11 units 8 gig of RAM, but, I didn't for whatever reason. It'll still run fine. Of course, the first thing I want to do is go here to Windows Update, because I'm just curious if there are any updates out there. Yeah, Windows hasn't been activated. We know. Let's see if there's any updates, and if there are, we'll just let them run, and then we'll come back when they complete. Yep, there's a ton of updates as well. There's what, 5? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. All right, so we'll let those run. All right, so our Windows 10 machine is back up and running after a update and reboot. Let's see if there's any more updates out there. And we'll just, we're going to run these operating systems not activated. I don't have a license key to give them, but we just won't be able to have a few features available to us, like, being able to reskin the interface and that kind of thing. I'm going to go ahead and run this cumulative update preview for Windows 10 because that's going to take a while. Let's come over to the Windows 11 unit. And again, you see, even though I recently updated these images last month, and I'm talking not last month, a month ago, but last month, 15 days ago, it did not include that major cumulative update to Windows 10. So it's odd that I'm having to run that update again, but you know, it is what it is. The joys of, and we haven't even joined the domain yet, which is going to be what we do next, but you know, the joys of running a home lab. So I'm gonna skip this for now. Yeah, I know. You're so sad and sorry to see me go. All right, so now we're up to Windows. I'm going to go ahead and run. You notice how Task Manager came up automatically under Windows 10. I don't know why it doesn't do that on Windows 11. Or maybe it does, and I just didn't wait long enough. All right, so let's go back and run Windows Update here under Windows 11. And see if we have another. I think there was a, yeah, there's a big update preview here. It must have come out right after I did the image initially. So both of these installs are going to take some time, but you know, it's the joys of doing a home lab. So we'll come back when that changes. Now, one of the things you want to keep in mind, because we're dealing with a VLAN here, is you want to make sure you've set up your virtual machines to run on the correct VLAN. So I'm going to show you how to do that real quick. You just go to the virtual machine over here on the side, come here to hardware, go to the network device, double click on it, and right here you just type in your VLAN tag, -20, click on OK, and now it's a member of the VLAN 20. Same way with this Windows 11 unit. We want to tag that with a VLAN of 20, so that when it comes up, it'll get an IP address on the 20 subnet and not on the 5 subnet, which is our production network. Now you notice here I've got another Windows 10 lab unit I created. And all I did, it was dead simple because I didn't want to have to, you know, create another template. I just took this machine here and I cloned it. I just right clicked on it and chose clone and create a clone of the machine. In fact, we'll do another one. So do 10 Pro-00 or lab 3. So once we call it that, then we choose our storage. That's NVMe 1, and choose clone, and then just wait for it to finish down here on the bottom. All right, so the other thing I did was I cloned 10 Pro Lab 3, and you notice now that I've cloned it, now that I made my firewall, now that I made my network adapter changes, it has cloned that network VLAN ID as well. So one thing I didn't do is label this correctly. So let me come back up here to, we go to options and then we go to edit. So it needs to be .labnet 20.local, and that'll make our naming convention consistent. So I'm going to go ahead and do this with the Windows 11 units. I'm going to clone those. I'm going to get a total of 5 Windows 11 units, 5 Windows 10 units, and then I'm going to test them, make sure they all come up, and then we'll join them to the domain. I'll show you that next step here in a moment. All right, so we've got all the virtual machines cloned. So I'm going to start bringing each one of them up, and we're going to start joining the domain controller now that we've got them set for the right VLAN, and we'll see if they come up. We may have to name the machine if we haven't done that, but I'll show you a couple of Windows 11 machines and a couple of Windows 10, show you how I join them to the domain, and then I'll do the rest manually off camera. So I'm just going to log in here to this Windows 11 machine. And again, it has to be Windows Pro, 11 or 10 Pro higher. Or higher, I meant to say. Otherwise, it won't work. Not going to be able to join the domain. So I'll come into here under System and then under About. And then I use the Advanced System Settings here. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't. I use, where is it? Where is it? Have they moved it again? I'm just going to go to domain or work group. Yeah, that's fine. Click on change, and I'm going to become a member of the LabNet 20.local. So if this is working correctly, it should be able to resolve that domain, and it does. And that's the account with domain admin privileges. And I should be able to join this machine to the domain. And welcome. So it is now a member of this domain. Go ahead and close and restart. And when it comes back up, I'm going to go full screen here. So when it comes back up, it'll actually be joined to the LabNet 20.local domain. It'll start inheriting the default group policies that Windows Server creates out there. So, and then we'll go through part of our lab series is going to be go through and play with those settings, tweak them, show you the cause and effect, and how to make them. So there we go. It's fairly speedy for a virtual machine. Now I'm going to use other user because I just want to make sure that it says we're signing into the LabNet domain. Now you can still log into the local machine. I'll show you that later, but go ahead and log on to the domain and make sure it can see the domain controller. And now it needs to set up our desktop profile. You know, the normal stuff that you have to go through with Windows when you join a domain or when you add an account. Same thing. All right, so now we're back at the desktop, and we have joined the domain, and we can verify that by going here to System and About. Actually, it should be right up top. No, it isn't. Let's go to About. And you should see now that we are joined to the LabNet 20.local domain. We've got an IP address on that domain. All is well with the world. Go to Network and Internet, go to Advanced, and then go to wow. Why is it I can't? Maybe it isn't Advanced. Just go to Network and Internet. It should show. There it is. There we go. They've moved it under Ethernet. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I'll adapt. So the IP address I'm getting is 20.37. I'm getting the primary and the secondary DNS servers, which are my domain controller 1 and domain controller 2. And it just works, and that's the way it should work. So let's go do a Windows 10 unit. So now I'm on a Windows 10 virtual machine, and we're not joined to the domain yet, so we have to log on to using the local admin account, which is Adama. And bingo, it automatically sees us on that LabNet 20.local network. And that's because we changed the VLAN setting on the virtual network card. So that made our life considerably easier, right? Just dead simple to create VLANs and whatnot. So now I'm going to come back here to System, and then we're going to come down to About, and then we're going to go to rename this PC Advanced. That's where I'm getting it confused with Windows 11, because that's the setting under Windows 10. You see how they've changed it. So again, hopefully we can join this domain. Ooh, cancel. It was in the wrong field. Domain. And it should ask us for our admin account. Keep in mind, if you didn't create an administrator account, you'll need to use your administrator login name if you haven't disabled that, and password, or you'll have to create a new admin user and give that user rights. Okay, so I joined the domain. Let's let it restart, and we'll come up and see if all is well. Let's see how long it takes to reboot. And this is a fast NVMe storage all on the Proxmox node, the one that it's running on. It's got 3 Intel 300 gig NVMe SSDs, I believe. Okay, that was fairly quick. And now let's go to other user because we again want to make sure that we're logging into labnet 20.local. And we'll enter our super secret password. And it's getting our desktop ready. Okay, so now this is joined to the domain. We've logged in with that domain account. So let's just go out and verify that it is indeed joined to the domain. We'll go to System, come down here to About, and we should see that it is now joined to yes, it is 10p lab2.labnet20.local. Yeah, why did I call this lab 2? Okay, I need to rename this PC. And we'll just do that here. Hopefully this will work. It's a good thing I checked, huh? Yeah, see, sometimes you make mistakes. I renamed the wrong machine. Let's go ahead and bring this full screen so we can see a little bit better. All right, so same way. This should log us under the domain by default now. And if you're not drinking coffee, you should learn how. All right, so we'll go to Start, Settings, System, and About, and eventually the monkey muscle memory is this. So there we go, Advanced. So now it should be lab1.labnet20.local. Okay, good. So let's go out to the PowerShell prompt. Let's see if we can ping our domain controllers. So first one is 29DC01. Ooh, couldn't find it. Okay, is that what we called it? Let's go find out. 2019-DC1. Ah, you suppose that could have something to do with it? And there we go. And we're getting an IPv4 address return. So let's do that with DC2. And we're getting that with 20.2. So we see that we're joined to the domain. We're domain number. We've got the right name now. And it's resolving DNS on our labnet 20.local. If I do ipconfig /all, you'll also see that we should get a domain specific. Let's see, for DNS. Maybe not. Yeah, there it is. Where it says primary DNS suffix, labnet 20.local. That's because I've entered that information into pfSense. So I'm on my pfSense server, and I'm going to go to labnet 20, and I'm going to show you where I set that setting. So here you see my primary and secondary DNS. I point those back to domain controller 1 and 2. And then right there where it says domain name, this is the default, is to use the domain name of this firewall as a default domain name provided by DHCP. An alternate domain name may be specified here. I wanted to make sure that it saw labnet 20.local when it got its IP address, and you can see that is definitely what's happening here, is that we're getting the labnet 20.local for our DNS suffix server and our primary DNS suffix. So that can help you avoid a lot of headache down the road. But there we go. There's our Windows 10 unit joined to the domain. We're getting an IP address. We're getting our domain resolution. We can ping our two domain controllers. Everything is working great. All right, so now we're on our Windows 11 unit. And it's got the time wrong. It's got the wrong time zone. So let's fix that. It should be Central Time. Yeah, we're on Pacific. I don't like Pacific Time. Poor people on Pacific Time. I've lived on Central Time my whole entire existence on this planet. Okay, so we're going to go to settings. We're going to go to system. Then we're going to come down here to about. And we're going to see that it's 11p-lab1.labnet.local. Already joined to the domain, so we're good there. Let's go out to the command line. And should get us a prompt here. And we're going to ping 2019-DC1. And you'll see we get a resolution from 20.1. And then we're going to ping DC2. And we get the same thing. And then if we do an IP config /all, you'll see that we get our labnet 20.locals and our DNS suffix search list. And you'll see we get an IP address, and we get all of our DNS servers, and we get our default gateway, all that good stuff. So these machines are now ready to go. These two have been joined to the domain. I just need to do join the rest of them to the domain, which I'll do off camera. You don't need to see that. But that's basically what you need to do to set up a Windows 10 or a Windows 11 unit. Join them to the domain. Make sure they're on the right subnet. Make sure they're joined to the right VLAN. And the rest just happens. So there you go. That's as simple as I could put it, how I do my Windows 10 and Windows 11 virtual machines. We talked about DNS and adding them to the network and DNS translation and DHCP. We created, I think, 10 total machines. That's what I'm going to create. And then I added 2 of them to the Active Directory domain to show you how that was done. And the rest I'll do at a later time. And then I showed you how we label them under Proxmox. So, yeah, Proxmox is very, very powerful hypervisor to have in your lab environment. They all are. You can do the same thing with Hyper-V, VMware, and even Citrix or XCPNG, which is the the open source version of Citrix. So you've got a lot of choices out there. Proxmox just being my preferred one. I have my reasons, and hopefully now you've seen what they are. So a bit of a spoiler, in our next lab, we're going to be going over things like group policies and compliance issues and drive encryption and network encryption, network connection encryption. We're going to stop using NTLM for network authentication. So we're going to be doing a bit of a deep dive into some of those subjects in our upcoming labs. So I encourage you to come back and join us for those additional lab videos, and I'll label them as such down below. So thanks again for coming. We appreciate it. Donate if you're so inclined. PayPal, Patreon, YouTube join function, or just become a YouTube premium member and share the guilt, share the wealth with all of us, with the rest of us. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and click that notification bell to be notified of new videos when they come out. Please don't forget to come back and see us again. And don't forget, we'll see all of you on the other side.